Welcome to the Authority File, the academic library podcast from Choice, brought to you this week by ACRL and Choice. I'm Bill Mickey, host of the podcast and the editorial director at Choice. This week, Choice's digital media specialist and my podcast co-host, Mark Derks, is joined by Leslie Madden, Denita Hampton, and Laura Carscaddon to talk about their book, Now You're a Manager, Quick and Practical Strategies for New Mid-Level Managers in Academic Libraries. This episode is one of a four-part series. In this episode, Leslie, Denita, and Laura discuss their own paths to management and how different personality types can influence management style. Welcome to the Authority File. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having us.
So then, let's just jump right into the questions. My first question for each of you is, what's your story? In the intro for Now You're a Manager, you point out that for some people, climbing the ladder into management is a long-held goal, while others may be appointed to fill a gap. And so I'd be curious about what's your current job and how exactly did you wind up there? Did you strive for it? Was it something you went after, or were you appointed? And maybe, Denita, would you mind starting this one off?
That's fine. I am actually a staff member. I'm the staff member of the group.
All right.
I I was actually appointed as the manager of. It was initially circulation, and our names have changed so many times. It was circulation when I first became manager. Then it was access services, and now it's user services and technology support. So I was circulation manager, and then the dean at the time felt that I was doing I'm assuming, a good job at circulation manager, so she appointed me as manager of the department.
Great.
So
great.
that's my story.
And how long have you been the department manager? How long has that?
15 years.
Wow. All right.
Yeah, 15 years in this position. Yeah.
Great. And how about you, Laura? What is your
Well,
story?
so I am a librarian. I fell into librarianship backwards. My undergrad's in history, and then I was an internal auditor with a payday loan company and an apparel company. And in about 2002, I said, this is not what I meant to do, and I went to library school. I became a business librarian. I was at Youngstown State for 3 years, the University of Arizona for 3 years, and then I came here in 2010, so 7 years ago, as a business librarian. When I'd been here about 7 or 8 months, there was an interim opportunity for a team leader for social sciences. And I said, that sounds kind of interesting, so I threw my hat into the bin, and I ended up doing that job, and that continued into a permanent position as a team leader. And about 3 years ago, I became the head of research and engagement, which is the department that houses all the subject librarians. And so I have 2 team leaders and a couple of librarians as my direct reports, and then the rest of the subject librarians who report to those team leaders.
Wow. Okay. Great. And Leslie, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my full-time jobs have always been in libraries, and I was working full-time at a university library and working on a master's degree, and decided that I wasn't going to go forward and get a PhD. And 2 of the librarians that I worked with took me out to lunch one day and said, you could make a career out of this. And so I ended up going to library school and becoming a librarian. And afterwards, I worked at Georgia Tech for 8 years, and then I've been here at Georgia State for 12 years. And the way that I became a manager was I was first hired to be the instruction coordinator here at GSU. And as my role expanded and my responsibilities expanded, we realized that it would be good to hire some more people to work with me on some of the instruction initiatives. And so a staff person was reassigned to me, and then we hired a librarian who had expertise in instructional technology. And then after what do you call it? A reorganization here in the library. My department, the little instruction department, was absorbed into what was then the department with all the subject librarians. And so a few of the subject librarians were assigned to me, and I became a team leader within that department. And I've pretty much stayed a team leader since then.
Middle managers. Are you one? Do one or more work for you? Maybe you hope to be one sometime soon. With chapters on topics like creating a respectful workplace, managing university bureaucracy, and managing change, the recent ACRL book, Now You're a Manager, provides you with the insight you need to build productive teams and equips you with practical tools for navigating management's day-to-day challenges. For 15% off the cover price, go to the ALA store. That's alastore.ala.org and use the coupon code ACRL1572.
A little bit about mission. Do you see yourselves as having a mission? How important is the mission of the library and of your role within it? How important is that to you, and how does that idea of mission inform your leadership, or does it?
Well, I looked up the library's mission again today because I couldn't remember exactly what it was.
Yeah.
And our library's mission is to provide resources and services that enhance student learning and success, inspire creative expression, enable the creation of new knowledge, and facilitate informed dialogue. And I would say that the piece that my team and I work on the most would be to enhance student learning and success. And I think that's something that the subject librarians think about a lot, and the part of the mission that we work toward probably the most. So for me, it's helping the people who report to me be successful in their job, and a big part of their job, of course, is working with students, teaching them how to use the library resources, and holding research consultations with them to help them with their research.
And
This is Laura, and I actually have a follow up to that a little
Sure.
bit. I feel like Georgia State, and I've reason to think in the last year or so very deeply about the Georgia State mission, and the Georgia State itself is really focused on student success. It is something that I appreciate very much about this university, and I think it brings so much over into what we do in the library in supporting student success in all their needs, whether it's phone chargers to information literacy classes. So I think that the mission of the university and the mission of the library are key, and they're central to my job, and I'm sure Leslie's and Denita's too.
Mm-hmm.
Great, yeah.
It-
And what about? I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, that's actually Denita. I have to agree with both Leslie and Laura. I have watched this library grow for over 25 years, and even before I became a manager, and it just makes me happy because we've come such a long way. And if you would come into this library, for example, today, a Thursday, it's so many students here. It's like a family room, or I always think of it as like a family reunion when you see all these people together collaborating, and that we are part of that. The employees in the library are part of that. So I think with my department, we provide resources and services that enhance student learning and success via information, or, like Laura mentioned, laptops, Chromebooks, whatever the student might need. We're here for them.
That's very interesting. And you mentioned laptops and Chromebooks and those sorts of things, and that you've seen the library change over a 25-year period. I wonder if the sorts of things that you're bringing to students have also changed. I mean, 25 years ago, were you loaning out computers and things
No.
of that nature? What were you
No.
what were you loaning out, and how has that changed?
Actually, when I first came, it was mid 1980s and it was an entry level position, books. That was it.
Huh.
Books. We had some VHS, and I'm ashamed to say that. Uh, VHS, we were loaning out those and books. That was it. Nothing else.
Hmm.
So I've seen I've been employed during the introduction of the internet. So that's been very interesting for me. So going from books to students using ebooks now, or their Kindle, learning on their Kindle.
Leslie, you were talking about um, student learning and success.
Mm-hmm.
How has your role at the library changed as you've been here for a while? Has it changed, or is it, or do you feel that your role has evolved? What has that been like?
I would say that it has both changed and evolved. So, as I mentioned, I was hired as the instruction coordinator. And after a time, that role became sort of decentralized. So we don't have um, a specific person who manages all aspects of instruction anymore. And in fact, my title has changed a good number of times since I've been here. So I'm no longer entirely focused on instruction. In addition to being a team leader, I also took on some subject librarian responsibilities a couple of years ago. So I would say that my role, even though the things that are important to me, the student success and learning, is something that I've kept at the forefront of what I do. The role that I have in the library has changed a good bit.
You just heard from Leslie Madden, Denita Hampton, and Laura Carscaddon. This concludes episode 1 of our 4-part series. This episode was brought to you by ACRL and Choice. Be sure to join us for the next episode where we'll discuss the different approaches to team building.
It's hard to build those teams because we often are doing very diverse things.
You can search for and listen to all of the episodes of the Authority File podcast on iTunes, Google Play, or Stitcher. You can also find the podcast on our website. Just click on the librarianship drop-down. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to give us a review on your favorite podcast app. That's all for this week. Thanks for joining us.